Okay, what's going on, y'all? Today we're doing something a little bit different. I'm actually going to be talking about what I watch. So y'all can get to know me a little bit outside of like music production and therapy and psychology and all that good stuff. So, what is my number one show right now? What is the best show out right now? Take a guess what I'm watching. What's the best show? I give you 5 seconds. Four, three, two, one. If you ain't say Gen V, you're wrong. So, spoiler alert, spoiler all through this video. So spoiler. If you've not seen it, and if you want to see it and not get spoilers, this is it. All right, enough of the alert. Let's talk. Gen V is probably the best show I've seen. And well, since I've seen The Boys, honestly, since I got put onto The Boys, um, and what I've noticed, and I think I'm not the only person, and I've noticed that there's been a significant dip in the quality of shows from the MCU. Yes, as well. And I think the reason why is because, well, a couple of reasons. Number one is Endgame, right? At Endgame, it was literally like the biggest movie I think ever. It made so much money. It had so much hype. It had so much build up. Like you're talking about Iron Man that came out what 2008, 2009, all the way leading up to Endgame, which is what 2019, 2000. Yeah, I believe. Don't quote me on that. I don't know the dates exactly, but I know it was a long time. But yeah, it's an amazing thing that was pulled off. But since then, once you do something so big, it's kind of inevitable that things have to kind of calm down. That's just the way life works. That's just the way everything works, right? Um, so that's one reason why I think the MCU has kind of gone down. And now, like the boys and other folks are just like taking over. You know. Oh, we good? We good? Okay, cool. Just checking. Thought something happened. All right. The other reason why Marvel is kind of going down is because they have to do all these like shows on Disney Plus. I think they had these ideas of creating the universe, not in this just a cinematic universe, but like in terms of the television universe as well. So it's like they were combining all these things that they were trying to experiment and see how they can make things work. Instead of with the boys, they already know what their lane is. There's no the boys movie. Maybe there will be in the future, but it's like that's not what they're trying to do. They have a series. They are basing it loosely but pretty authentically to the comic book that was already done. So that they have in common with Marvel, but they're also starting from a place where they can build up. So they haven't had their end game yet. So we're still experiencing a lot of new things and a lot of new factors. Whereas Marvel, they're kind of tapped out when it comes to the saga of the Avengers that they wanted, and the Avengers is like one of the biggest like combinations of of superheroes. So they're trying to get back to that in some form or fashion, whether it be like Young Avengers or whatever else. Like there's a whole bunch of rumors about where they're gonna go with it. Um, Dark Avengers, but most likely there's gonna be something with Avengers in it. So there's that. And lastly, and this is one of the things I've noticed a lot. I am all for representation within films. I think it's great. But what makes a lot of people mad, I think it upsets me as well, is when you kind of like just throw somebody in that's like of a different race, different like ethnic background, or just anything that's like outside of what the norm is within America that we're used to. Some type of culture that's just outside of like central uh, white America, basically, where it's like basically outside of Captain America. Although he was born in Brooklyn, so differences still matter in that case. But what happens is the point I'm trying to make is they throw out, like, let's say they throw like a black person that's gonna be, I don't know, Wolverine or something like that. And that's fine, but it's like I think they don't develop the character of what that Wolverine would be, like why he would be different or what would be different about him. So the character development for the characters that are different ethnic background, race, or anything else like that, they don't get developed as much as like the original characters would have, who might have been whatever original, you know, characteristics they might have had. So Peter Parker is the only example I can think of where they did it right, where Miles Morales had a whole backstory. And it's like that's not even technically all of Disney and the MCU. That's kind of split between Sony. So they have a lot of stuff to do, and then they keep putting these characters out there and then doing remakes with different races, which again, no problem, but like you're not developing the characters or doing anything different with them. So it kind of seems like you're just like switching like skin colors and you're just trying to like appease different races from different folks. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. But I think the development around them is lacking because they are focused so much on the fact that they inputted somebody new, a new face, a new culture, which again is beautiful, but then develop that. Like, don't just leave it as like, all right, we're gonna make a Black Bambi, boom. Like that's not really gonna do much. We're just gonna be like, okay, why'd you make Bambi black? You could have came up with something different, basically. The opposite is happening with Gen V. What they're doing is they're actually highlighting the hypocrisy of some people who are using culture war stuff. So like they'll have somebody who might be this is gonna be a spoiler. So one of the characters, Jordan, is, I believe, trans, but like literally can transition from male to female, which is super cool and dope within the series. So you actually get to see somebody transition like in real time because they have that power to do so. Other powers as well, so that makes it dope. But you see how that in the last episode, actually, you see how one of the professors, actually the dean of the school, was just using them as a kind of pawn to get what they wanted, but was okay with their identity and was bigging that up and bigging up the fact that they were who they were and being nice to them when still doing terrible things in the background. And I think that cynical view, although it is cynical, is exactly what does happen in real life. A lot of times people are brought into the fold that are different from a different background of like whatever the majority is. But it's only used in a way where they're not supported and actually encouraged to bring all of themselves into the world and into that world and to actually contribute. They're just there to be like, oh, okay, good. We checked that off the list. We got a transgender person on the list. We've got a black person on the list. We've got a whatever, go down the list of all those things that make somebody aspects of somebody. And again, those are beautiful things, but what I find is you're not actually wanting to hear from them or hear about their experience or make any changes or do anything that would actually make their lives better or their communities better. So ironically, I think what is making Gen V and all those other shows from the boys universe, this is what I'm calling it right now. I don't even know if I can call it that. What's making their shows dope is that it's amazing writing, amazing action, great plot, and it's original. So they are ascending towards their end game moment. And when they insert somebody of like a different culture or something other background that like some of us in the majority might not know about, they're doing it in a way that's showing that quite literally in the real world, sometimes people use identity politics to advance their cause without actually caring about the person who is involved in and being brought into the fray. You know what I mean? So bringing up Jordan, Jordan became the TA, but he didn't have any actual real power because he was ranked number two. But as soon as the dean got knocked out, again, spoilers, sorry y'all. As soon as, y'all know what happened to the dean, fire. He ain't make it. As soon as that happened, he started going down. They started going down the ranks. So it's interesting that happens, and I think literally that's happening in Disney, where it's like they're putting a lot of these characters in, they're not developing them, but they're allowing different characters to be portrayed by people of different races and different cultures. So I'm torn between Disney doing that and actually doing it correctly, because I think they would be able to create way better stories if they were doing that correctly. Or if they were to comment on the fact that sometimes people are actually just doing it to look good, and they don't actually care about the communities that some of these people are coming from. Because that's the reality of it. A lot of times, the support, the upfront like visual support of communities is there just to make corporations or companies look good, and it's not actually helping folks out. So I would like to see people be real about that within the context of the show, instead of it being like, oh, everyone's accepting, everybody's loving. I don't think that's always the case. So that's another reason as well. So I think those are the three reasons why I think The Boys, I mean, amongst all the other stuff that I said, The Boys and that universe is crushing it right now. They're on the ascend towards their like big, whatever it may be. They're accurately showing how identity politics and all that plays out in their universes. Like Queen Maeve as well, who was queer. She was I think she was, yeah, I don't know if she was bisexual or not. I'm not sure exactly. I can't remember. But she was queer, a queer woman within the Boys universe. And Homelander used that. He made her come out when she didn't want to, and then used that as a way to make the Seven look like it was being more progressive and being more inclusive. It's like, that was a real depiction of what some politicians do, what some companies do to make what they're doing on the inside look all shiny and nice on the outside, when internally, what the Seven be doing. So I like that they were able to do that, because that's a way more accurate depiction of what some people who might be on the margins deal with. And it adds to the plot, and everything else like that. So I don't know what's gonna happen with Marvel and the rest of their journey as they're going towards just figuring stuff out. You know what I mean? I am starting to watch Loki, so that's like, that's interesting so far. I'm waiting to see more, but it's an interesting time for television, and I think soon something's interesting is happening with just like people who are the ones who supply, and then the ones who kind of like distribute or might be in more of the management positions. I think the workers and the ones who supply and do like some of the harder work on the end, on that end of the spectrum, are really starting to recognize their power, And I can say we, because I would consider myself that, although most of the stuff I do is entrepreneurial. Most of my life I've had a boss, or I was working and I was the one producing something for somebody, while somebody was managing what I was producing, or the time that I was producing it. So I think a lot of us, you're seeing a lot of strikes, you're seeing a lot of unions going off. It's good. I think it's a needed balance, because there's a lot of people at the top who manage things, and I think they kind of got into their head that like they were smarter or better, and sometimes you gotta let people know like it's supposed to be a collaborative effort. And I hope that that can happen within the music industry as well, because like all these labels and everything else like that, that's a whole other story. But it's like the artists, the producers, the rappers, the singers, the songwriters, we're the ones who are doing like the actual work, the product, producing the product, and then everybody else is like, you know, making money off of that. So I think there needs to be more appreciation for the artist in order for there to become some type of balance, you know. So those were some of the thoughts that I was having. So now you got to know me, also the therapist, a little bit more, and some of the topics that I get in my head sometimes. And yeah, you got to peek into my mind basically. So I hope you enjoyed. I might do some more lives. Let me know what you guys thought about my opinions. As always, keep things respectful, please. You can disagree with me, but we don't gotta like, you know, go off on each other. That's not productive. And it just creates like a negative dynamic between you and I want to develop a good relationship with my audience, you know. So, but yeah, if you disagree, I love disagreements that are said in a way that I can actually hear and we can have a back and forth. I actually love those. So if there's something you're like, nah, man, Marvel about to do this, or something that I didn't know about, a blind spot that I have, let me know in the comments below. That would be really dope for me to engage with that. If there's stuff that you agree with, let me know in the comments below too. Or you like, man, I saw that too, I peeped that. Or, you know, we should be doing that when it comes to music or whatever else like that. Yeah, this was good for me to get some of my thoughts out. I felt good, so I might do more of these, but let me know. I want to make sure that I'm kind of catering to my growing audience, because I know you guys are watching me for beats mostly, but how did it feel getting to know me outside of that? All right, y'all. Peace and love. I'll see you on the next beat, potentially on the next live, depending on how y'all receive this. But either way, I wish you guys all the best, and I'll talk to you later. Peace.